Going live.
Get the cookies down too. Yeah.
All right. We'll call this meeting to order at 6:01, September 19th. I think for starters, we're going to have to,
Slim pickings.
appoint a couple of alternates. So Tom and Tom, if you would.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Mr. Chair, just so as you can see, so I had heard from Doug, Lee, Christine and Bill that they were unable to make it tonight. So just want to let you know.
Christine and Bill.
There been any changes to the agenda?
Think so.
Um,
Oh, that Christine, yeah.
So there are two changes to the agenda after it was posted. And that would be under other business. It's number 3. A and B, so it's a letter from NHDOT regarding a request for a list of top 10 priority mitigation efforts throughout the town. And I also wanted to share with you guys this other document entitled Changes to Planning and Zoning Laws in 2023. So it's a nice breakdown of, some legislation that passed this year or that will go into effect next year. That's it.
You know, I don't do change well, right?
I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion that we accept the agenda as amended.
Scott Williams will second for Tom Hoops. Because since we have two
Thank you.
Toms, we have to.
Motion made by Tom, seconded by Scott. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None.
Mr. Chair, before we move forward, can we just do a roll call for the minute taker so she knows who's,
Absolutely.
please?
Roger Sample.
Scott Williams.
Drew Carter.
Tom Tiffany. Tom Hoops.
Thank you.
All right. Excellent. All right. So first case up is completeness review of application on public hearing if it is accepted as complete. Case P 2320. This is for the Lawrence and I'm sorry. Lauren are owners and agents for Christine and Joseph Perella, owners. Did I get that right?
Said owners an awful lot, I think.
I
in there,
did
but-
say owners a lot there. So this is a lot line adjustment in the rural zone. If you can just give us a couple of minutes while we kind of review, we need to declare completeness and then we'll have you guys address the board. So I did review this earlier. It looked like everything was complete with the exception of the sample deeds, which we often set as a condition.
There's no sense in preparing a deed until they get approved in my eyes, but why?
I agree.
Those gyrations.
Mr. Chair, may I address the applicants?
Yes.
So I was not aware that Steve Oles was going to be here tonight speaking on behalf of you guys, and I don't see an agent letter. For him?
Authorize right now verbally.
The only,
Yeah, pull your microphone down. So
the only issue I would have with that is that the Perellas are not present at the table.
Yeah, they couldn't make it tonight. Her husband has.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask the board that if they would
Shania,
allow,
microphone now.
can you just say that again? I'm sorry, that they weren't here.
Yeah, they're not here tonight because her husband has dialysis.
Okay, so if I ask the board if this could still go forward and then they can email me with a proper agent letter.
Yes.
We'll have to make any decisions subject to that agent letter as well, as it boils down.
Just trying to
So
dot
who's the
i's and
agent?
cross t's.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that I had to get
Yeah.
special permission
Smiley.
for Steve.
yeah. So Steve, who are you representing?
I am representing both parties. since
Both
the plan
parties,
is done for
okay.
both parties. I cannot speak and you can go forward and I can sit back here and smile.
Well, I think, yeah, so Steve is listed in the review as the agent, but we do not have the agent letter. So if it's the board's pleasure, I think that we permit Steve to continue and speak, but qualify that any decisions of the board will be subject to receipt of that letter. Does that work for the board?
Yes, very much so. Yes.
Okay. So we put that to a motion and just to cover.
That
Probably
could just
safe.
be, it could just be added as a condition,
Yeah, I think that's the best place to put it.
All right.
because they did submit a agent letter. The Pirellas are allowing the Laurens to represent them. So there is, we do have something on file, so. It's fine.
All right. Well, I mean, I've already reviewed this and I'll make a motion to accept the application as complete.
Scott Williams, second.
Scott Williams is seconded. Any discussions? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. So you want to give us a quick synopsis?
Quick synopsis is that we're going to be transferring, we're doing a boundary line adjustment of roughly 27,000 square feet from Kristen and Joe over to Dan and Shana Lauren for their lot. As you see on the map behind you in blue is the existing lot that the Laurens own. We have done a wetland delineation by David Elaine, and their lot is quite restricted by the wetland delineation, so it
Imagine
was quite restricted. And they reached out to Joe and Kristen, and there's an agreement to do a boundary line adjustment. So what I have on the backside is the new lot configuration. This will make the lot buildable, allow a house to be put on it, allow for a proper septic, proper well, and meet all setbacks to the Mary Marie Marsh and Brook and all wetlands. So it's actually a buildable lot.
So I see there's a waiver for the wetlands. They had them delineated. Why aren't they on the map?
Because it's for the remaining land of the 17 acres that we're asking.
But the 17 acres has lots of wetlands on it. That I'm well aware of, and I've even before these people even did anything in here, I alerted the Conservation Commission of wetlands violations over there, and nothing was done. And where this foundation is, I had this land under agreement 20 some odd years ago, and there's so many wetlands on it that nothing was really able to do. Well, they put a house in the middle of one of the wetlands. So that's something that should be addressed.
I have no part in that.
I know you don't. I know you don't. But, and then the second thing, the road situation here is horrible. I mean, something should be done as part of things happening in there to upgrade this road, because this road just goes waist deep in mud sometimes. It's terrible.
Yep, so the Laurens, when they build, are gonna have to come in and record one of those waiver of liabilities for, building on a private road. So
Yeah.
that will include
But
some maintenance, that includes that maintenance agreement, just so you're aware.
okay. Something should be looked at where that foundation went.
Well, Scott, can I just say that this lot or this land that
Yeah.
we're buying is actually way on the opposite
I
side of
know,
the
right,
road?
I know, right. This was for sale for a long time, and I looked at buying the land, and that part of the area is It is what it is, and I agree. with
Right,
it.
yeah. I mean, her
I'm just talking
foundation
about-
doesn't have much to do with what our boundary line adjustment on this.
They have not paid attention to the rules of the road. And that's where I have a problem with, if there is something incorrect going on there, it should be revised, repaired, or something happened before we do any more on this lot.
I believe,
So what's the parent? What lot do you own?
We own lot 2513.
lot right here,
Okay,
tiny little lot.
all right, so what lot are you trying to take?
We're taking 27,000 square feet on here. Off of this 7. That third parcel from this lot.
So this. Like that?
Yes, this is all part of this lot.
And where the
Where's the road?
dotted line,
That's across their lot, and literally is taking of their land. Goes right along the frontage of this.
old Roy Baxter.
So where's this foundation you're talking about?
In this area. See, that pit was used when they built 28 North.
Yeah.
And it was over excavated by the state, and that was be around 1960-ish, somewhere right around in there, maybe a couple of years too prior to that. And it was over excavated, which the state. nobody
Tends to do.
And nobody cared back then. I mean, it was just, nobody knew any different, you know? And I thought there was a couple more fire lanes, another one over here, but apparently not. So, because you can see the other two that are there, access to the river.
Okay, so the foundation that's on the parent.
Parent lot.
The parent lot.
Yep.
Is quite a ways away from
How long
where.
ago was the foundation put in?
A couple months ago.
Excuse me,
Oh.
Mr. Chair. So this foundation for this house has nothing to do with this lot line adjustment. And if
It
you
has
guys
something to
have-
do with this lot.
But if you have issues with it, it's not the planning board's purview. You should inform the building inspector, code official to address that. So having this big, long conversation, I think, is mixing two different issues.
Right, but at the same time, by creating a new lot, you have to meet the current standards.
That's what
Correct.
started the whole thing off, because I said, if it's been delineated, why isn't the wetlands on the map?
Well, because I didn't want to pay to have her whole 17 acres.
Well, you could have, they could have done the
That area.
asked to not have to do the whole thing like you do with the meets and bounds. You do the area, put it on the area that you're working, and, you don't have to put all this on. I mean, the expensive part, I would assume, is doing the delineating.
The delineation was done on that little lot, and I have that in my files and I can provide it to the board.
I think that should be provided.
The-
So we
the
know how much
report should
upland
be
is
in there.
really there.
So the report's in there, but the attached sketch that I had pointed out at the ZBA meeting is not in there.
Oh, okay, because Robin said I put it in the planning board one, so that's why I didn't bring the sketch, because she
Yep.
said it was already in the planning board.
Just that letter,
Okay,
but there's no delineation of wetlands
we can provide that.
submitted. Okay.
I can tell you half of that little lot is wetlands. Half of the little lot that they own.
Did the duck swimming give it away?
It was a whole bunch of stuff given away. A house can be built on 13, but you're literally having to you're literally shoving it right up against the setback,
Mhm.
septic right up next to the road, and you're really squeezing it to a minute, tiny little detail that it's better for everybody involved to add that extra half acre of land.
So
That's why we asked for the delineation, because then we could look at it. Who knows, maybe all of that lot is wet. It'd be just the same thing. You're shoving it all up against the road.
Oh, that little portion that we're dealing with right here, this little portion, there is no wetlands. It's all dealing right there along. This is all upland. It's like this small, 27,000 square feet. Wetlands, that's the upland. It comes down the road and goes up the hill.
in the next lot after that is the trailer, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
That lot of
we're
27,000
basically
square feet
there,
is-
so
Upland, there is no wetlands on that lot. That was reviewed.
So
So Jessica points out, we've kind of already jumped into these waiver requests. So let's address this as the waiver request. And that is, the first waiver request is for Article 7, F.7.GHI.
That's actually three waivers. The GH and I is actually
G,
three. of
yeah,
them.
sorry, G period, H period, I period.
Yeah.
There we go. Sorry. And so that's pretty much what we're discussing right now. And just so that I'm clear, I think I heard you say you have already delineated the wetlands on their lot.
Correct.
But not on the proposed.
Not on the remaining 17 acres of the land. Road. Yeah.
Okay, but you have done this, the area that they're that they're seeking to annex to their existing lot.
All with that, there's no wetlands.
Okay.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. So I guess I don't have an issue with granting a waiver for the 17 acres, but I think I would like to see something for this new proposed lot.
And also the existing. Lot that's being added to.
Yeah, which will become one.
Yeah.
Large lot of record.
Oh, but if they want to see it now, I can pull it up for them.
And that should be fairly easy because you already have all of
Already have.
this.
That's correct.
Okay. So I guess I'll
I'll move to approve Article 7F.G.H.I. Well, pardon me, that was a colon.
that's a full colon.
Is to waive on the 17-acre portion of the parcel, the wetland delineation. But to provide it for the lot merger
Area.
portion area. That sound okay?
Yeah, to the new 1.08 acre lot
Okay.
will be
Yep.
required. I will second that motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. All right, so the next waiver is Article Roman numeral 7, comma, capital F period, 7 period, 1 period, full colon. To show the location of existing and proposed easements in areas affected by the existing and proposed covenants, reservations, restrictions, benefiting or bordering the property. So I guess, does Baxter Place, is there an easement for that? That
I don't think
cuts
so.
right through that?
That road's a
Lots.
horror show as far as what, who and where it is.
Is there an easement on it?
There,
No,
sorry.
right now.
There is no association in there. My stepson lives in there, so that's why I'm a little familiar. There's just nothing in writing on that road at all. What's happened in there to make it what it is today is people have donated time. I've had my backhoe in there countless times, in the springtime, trying to flatten things out in there. There's nothing. So, and you probably would concur with that on what you've looked for.
Nothing on the easements. There's nothing stated on any of the deeds.
No. Do you have the plan, Roy Baxter plan?
I have the latest plan that Zuzco did, and it doesn't say.
I don't know where it is. I had the original plan at one point when I was looking to buy that lot. I had the original Roy Baxter plan and I don't know if the town has it. The registry, do they have it?
I'd have to look again.
Yeah. But that would be good to have. The
So I see,
original plan.
I see in the lot just below at 2512 that there's a utility pole tucked right in there.
Yeah.
Their lot. Is there anything going up past that utility pole?
No, the Pirellos actually own another lot right past 12. That's part of their 17 acres. That's right by Trudy's thrift store. That's like behind it.
Right.
but there's no houses there.
So you're gonna have to set another,
There are poles going down the street, yes.
there are
There's
poles
power
going,
service
There's-
all the way around.
so,
Power poles come all the way down, come down through here, up this section to service these houses in here.
right. Well, the reason I ask is with that, the way that road cuts right through there, I'm wondering where the poles are in relationship to the rest of the lot and lot lines. Must be an easement associated with those poles passing over that property,
The co-op would have the easement, yeah.
right?
They probably have a blanket easement to the whole property, I would guess. Is this Guzgo's plan here that depicts the roadway? Or where did this dotted line come from?
That dotted line and it came off, we actually located this section of the road.
Yep.
That dotted line came off of, the Steve Ferguson, Randy Tato survey back in 2004.
Okay,
That's when they did all that survey work in 2004.
yeah, because I was wondering where this dotted line might be, not where the road is.
That's roughly where the road was back
Okay.
in 2004.
So while you're on the conversation of whether or not you should waive meets and bounds and stuff, what's the ZBA mentioned something about perhaps a conflict with lot 2514.
So, Mr. Chair, if you can just wrap up.
Yeah, before
this
we
other-
get, we aren't on meets and bounds right now. We're on the request for waiver to show existing or proposed easements.
Well, this might be an easement thing or something.
The meets and bounds?
Oh, not the meet, I said meets and bounds, but an easement may be needed to allow the abutter the right to pass over their property to access living quarters.
Yes. That makes more sense. Sorry. When you said meets and bounds, you lost me.
I
Um,
misspoke. I meant that I just needed a little more information on what that's all about.
Is it a right of way?
I don't know.
In this, the people that have purchased the second 17-acre parcel have cut off part of the access to this back there as a result of their purchasing. You can see where in front of lot 2516, how the road separates.
Well.
That has been cut off by the current owners. And as far as I'm concerned, that road was there for 30 years plus, and they didn't have the right to do it because it was never subject to gates and bars.
All right. So, yeah.
So there's issues.
Yeah, and then maybe issues with that mother lot.
Yep.
So can I elaborate more on that CBA issue?
Sure.
Okay, so this proposed easement is on the portion of lot 33 that's being merged into lot 13. And it's way to the right. It's a driveway access to lot 14. So there's a driveway over here getting to this property. So that was why it was suggested to have some sort of proposed easement if that's what
I think.
the Lawrence wanted to do, or give them a right of way or something, or I didn't know what you guys were.
I think initially people were confused coming into the meeting, but his driveway is not on that property. So,
Then that should be surveyed and
Yeah, so
documented.
that should show up here.
Yep.
Yep.
So.
and I think the other thing regarding that was the guy that stays in the camper there seasonally on the other side of the road was given,
2535.
yeah, he was given a no trespass order. He was saying he wasn't allowed to access his property, but he can because that's the road.
I'm of the mindset that we do not grant this waiver. I think that there is a lot more information that needs to be researched and presented on these drawings. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about that.
I think we need to exercise a lot of caution because this is truly a very difficult area
Well, and it's obviously had a lot of problems, so it's no better time to straighten them out than now.
Well, you're not gonna straighten them out in this, all of them anyway.
No, but at least pertaining to this lot, and I get concerned when I see a road passing right over the lot, the power lines obviously got to be right there somewhere. This driveway, potential driveway issue with a butter. So I think there's some more information needs to be gathered on this.
I mean, wouldn't that be on the different deeds? I mean, an easement or right of way has to be mentioned in a deed or it doesn't exist.
No, that's not true. Once you know of an easement, you can put it in a deed, but I could grant you an easement over my piece of land and it never would end up in my deed because you and
thought
I
it
have
had
a
to be
personal
recorded.
services contract.
I thought it had to be recorded.
Until.
It can be, but
until-
it doesn't mean it's
Right.
attached to the deed.
Until you sell the property.
Right,
that's
then it
when-
would be done.
That's when that can be referenced.
That's right.
At a later point.
But I mean, would it not be wise to at least check those deeds? To see whether or not that road is mentioned?
That would be exciting.
So can I add something? In the ZBA meeting, Paul Rochelle suggested that we do an easement in our deed, that we're not gonna block the road or basically move the road from where it is. And we allow everybody to pass through it.
Well, I think you would want to limit who you allow to pass.
Well,
Well,
no,
it'd
the
be
people that live on the
public
road.
passing.
And I think that's fine. I think that this is one of those situations where I think a sample of that deed
This.
would be helpful to be presented to the
Or
planning.
or
So
the
I was
easement.
gonna do that, but I ran into an issue with the lady at Title Pro. She wanted us to come to the meeting first because lot 12, as you can see, the road goes through their property. So even us doing an easement to allow everybody to the passing of that road, that guy could just block it off if he wanted to, which
Yeah.
would make our
Well,
easement irrelevant.
No, he can't.
Well,
He
So
can
she-
try to block it off,
Sure.
but
sure, but she doesn't know all the logistics there, so she just wanted to figure out what you wanted, and then I have no problem doing the deed. It's not that we weren't going to do it, or I didn't try to get it done.
The other thing, sorry, the other thing we're trying to do is obviously have everybody on board to combine these lots so we can even purchase this lot. We haven't purchased this yet. And we want to make sure that everything jives so we can purchase it and then we can proceed with the rest of our surveying, the rest of our wetlands lineation and whatever we need to do for easements right of ways. We
well,
can proceed with that as well.
first of all, what you just read, but what you just said doesn't jive because he says he's not the owner and it's listed here as you're the owner and you're not the
You
owner.
don't know.
We are the owner of lot 2513.
Right.
We don't own that lot yet because we weren't even sure if it was going to pass because this is still under the 2-acre minimum. It's still a non-conforming lot, but we're making it better.
Okay,
So-
I think it's a good time to speak to that. Because if you recall in the rural zone on Stockbridge Corner Road, someone had to want to merge a lot and they were gonna make the lot less
non-conforming.
non-conforming, and we turned it down.
They had to go before the ZBA.
Right,
They have already done
done
that.
that. Okay, so that's clear.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes, last week.
that was the gist of that. So that's good.
I'd
So
like to speak on that less non-conforming if I had a chance, because that just
I would love for you to do that because I don't agree with that.
logical sense. Make it less non-conforming. You're taking a half-acre lot, you're adding a half acre, it should automatically be rubber stamped and I have to go to the zoning board. Because you're making a lot better and meeting a better situation. You're making it a better scenario for anybody.
Yeah, but is it conform?
How?
I agree with you completely. And records
So-
and
so we-
the track record in the town is I myself have taken 100 by 100, 10,000 square foot lot and made it 1.87 acres. And it still did not meet the zoning regs of the rural zone. And it was approved by this board and never had to go to the ZBA.
So,
And I've said that in previous meetings.
yep, and you have, and that was wrong as far as I'm concerned. I mean,
It set
it is
precedent.
still a non-conforming lot. It requires ZBA approval. And
Well,
I
just
think,
put that on the list for squaring away in the ZAC meeting because we have
And
a little.
and the ZAC committee decided not to address that.
so getting back to the case at hand, I am going to make a motion that we deny the waiver for Article 7, F.7. Is that an L or a one?
It might be a
That
one.
is a one, I
Okay.
believe.
With the rationale that I believe that there's just too much conflicting information and additional information required in order for this board to properly review.
Okay.
So that motion was made by Drew,
I'll second that.
seconded by Tom Hoops. Any further discussion?
Yes. May I just ask for clarification for the applicant's sake on if there's a denial, what?
So
are you
in
looking for
in
them to provide?
specifically, easement for the those tables are falling over again.
Have they been doing that?
Looking for easement for the road for the power company.
Wetlands?
Yeah, the wetlands we covered in the previous.
But they've had it delineated, so we should see the delineation, have it attached to the map.
You-
Yes.
Yes.
Would you like to see it now? I have it on my phone and then,
No, that's okay,
Okay,
because
I'll
it's
get it
it's
to you.
not officially submitted and therefore not public record, so. And I think those are my big ones.
Okay, so easements for the road and the electric company,
Yes,
so
that would address.
I have to get all of everybody's easements.
No, if you contact the co-op in the Plymouth, they will
No, but
probably have the easements all on file right there.
I think that's a little excessive, but.
okay, so we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none.
Okay, and then I had,
So we have
couple of
potential additional waiver requests. The checklist indicates that meets and bounds are shown on the plan, but only the section of lot 33 being conveyed has been marked. A waiver request to include an explanation shall be submitted for Article 7, capital F.7.e, requesting to not show the meets and bounds for the remaining portion of the lot in order for the board to consider granting this waiver, if that is the intention.
I did bring it with me.
I'm sorry.
I brought the request for the waiver, if
Okay.
you want to add that.
Yeah, you can sign that and submit that. Does she have to sign that?
no, I'll make copies for you guys.
What's in the packet? I see this in the packet.
There's a second waiver. Oh,
No, is it in here?
what was the question?
In the packet. It's not in the packet?
It is not.
No.
So that's an additional,
It's additional one.
that's right. So it's not, you guys don't have that. So that's my section to say, hey, I've found some things that may need a waiver. Here's the suggested sections.
Okay. Okay,
So they have a waiver request for the first one.
all
I
right, so
was-
the waiver is requesting not show the meets and bounds for the remaining portion tax map 25 lot 33 as it has already been surveyed. This would be an expense and should not, that the buyer should not have to endure. So for the remaining portion
Yes.
of the parent lot.
Yep.
All right, so do we have to? So we'll say that we do have a waiver request here for Article 7, Capital F, point 7, little e. Requesting to not show the meets and bounds for the remaining portion of the parent lot.
Okay, that's the one.
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah. So would you like to make a motion as such?
I'll make a motion that they do not need to have the meets and bounds for the parent lot. Just for the piece that will be added in for the lot line adjustment.
Okay, motion made by Tom Hoops. We have a second.
I'll second.
Seconded
Tom
by
Divney.
Tom Divney. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The next item was checklist indicates that a waiver has been requested from Article 7, capital F point 8, which requires sample deeds for review, which may require review by town council at the applicant's expense, but no waiver was found.
Because I was in the process of getting the sample deed done, but held off until now.
Okay.
Because the title company had questions on what they should or how they should word it.
Okay. So we do not have a formal submission for that waiver. However, the board has already stated that sample deeds are typically a condition of approval. So there's something that we would not require until afterward. And I think that in the process of you getting your the easements all clarified and right of ways or whatever, I think that that's going to help as well in the creation of any such sample deeds. So
Are sample deeds normally viewed by the town council?
I think sometimes,
I haven't had the need to do that. I suppose it would be a case by case situation if
If
they
this
were
one
pretty complicated.
says may require, so
Right.
is there an issue here then?
I think that road crossing right over the corner.
Mr. Chairman, the paperwork submitted here, Ron Pond Soil Survey. They allude to two prior sets of wetland delineations for this lot. I request that we obtain those wetlands delineations
Yeah, I think
done
we,
by those.
hold on. Where are you on the,
For a second paragraph, while on site, I examined expired septic design done by Randy Orvis.
hang on, you're jumping around a little bit on me. Hold
Oh,
on.
no, I'm not.
Well, we were talking about the
Yeah, well,
sample deeds. And we have a narrative, but I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that in the process of partially approving their first waiver request, that we did require that they provide the full delineation of wetlands.
okay, what took it as the area being delineated and for the lot line adjustment. I'm talking about the lot that this is coming from, lot 2533, in its entirety. When it was done, which will encompass this area as well. I know wetlands change, and so I'll go with the latest and greatest and not have a problem with that. But that will give us access to the wetlands delineations that are on this lot,
On the parent lot.
parent lot. And since the parent lot is being affected by this thing, I feel we have the right to get it. And they alluded to, they have two sets of it right here.
No. That report I paid David Elaine for. He did not do two reports for me. He,
No. This is, listen to what I say here. And observe two sets of prior wetlands delineations done by others sometime in the past. And I found the placing of these flags inconsistent with the standards.
on lot 2513.
That's right. See, where we have the right to ask for that because your lot that you're doing is affecting this whole lot. So I want all that past wetlands information.
I was on site with Dave doing that, and we did not find any labeling of any of the flags.
Well, let's put it this way, I think I was the last one to do it and it was well over 20 years ago. So you wouldn't see any flags.
Well, there's some, when I was out there, literally when I did this with David Elaine, holding the flags and we were walking the delineation together, there was another set of fresh flags up there that somebody hung.
Did
I don't have access to. I
did
don't
Zazgo have any part of that? No?
No.
That's nothing I have. They didn't even buy the property at that point in time. They're
Right.
completely fine.
Well, someone found these.
Right,
what,
David
previous-
found, but
Okay, just turn them into the board.
I
Please.
don't,
if
I
there's a
don't
report,
have
I would
them.
give it to you, but I don't
But
have
there
access.
should be a map.
I don't have it. It wasn't.
Is Randy Orvis still upright
Randy Orvis has retired and given away all his stamps and licenses.
to,
He's done.
okay,
He's closed everything down. He's given everything out.
yeah, well, that was probably,
Yes.
Timely.
So I don't know who did the delineation. But I have seen the flags. I personally saw the flags and we did not agree with the flags that were out there.
just provide the board with what you have.
That's perfectly fine.
So just so that there's no, I don't, unless I'm misunderstanding something here, I guess I'm not reading anything in here that says lot 33 was fully
No, it wasn't.
surveyed for wetlands.
I agree.
I just want to make sure that your expectations,
I think that 2 sets of prior wetlands delineations.
On lot 2513.
You said 2533.
Yeah,
Just go for clarification. It's 13, which is.
well, there are,
Property.
there are wetlands delineations for that lot somewhere. But, okay, just give us what you have.
Okay.
all right, so with regard to the waiver for Article 7, capital F.8, I think we've addressed that initially in the decision making of accepting this application as complete.
Yes,
So,
well, or in approval. In the notice of decision.
right. Right.
Okay. Moving along.
Moving right along. So, let's see. Conservation had the comments from various committees, highway, police, fire, water, and assessing had no concerns. Conservation had comments. And their comments are, there is insufficient data provided to make reasonable judgments. Are there wetlands? Have test pits been done? And may we see a site plan?
Basically,
Reasonable
we need
request.
information.
So I think those are reasonable requests, and I think that when the time comes, so you've got your a box, and actually, I have the advantage of having the larger drawings near me. So you have located the house, the well, septic. So did conservation not see this?
They were provided a copy of that plan.
Okay,
I don't know I don't know what else they're referring to.
They're going to
See
be
the
looking
site plan.
predominantly at wetlands, though.
There's a whole bunch out there.
and test pits, have test pits been done up on that?
Test pit was done on lot 13. That's why I said, that's why I originally went down and we looked at lot 13. And yes, you can get a septic, you can get a house there, but you're literally shoving it up against the road. So a test pit has been done. On the new 27,000 square feet, not yet. We can have it done before the next meeting if you'd like. But I'm gonna tell you, it's a whole lot better than what's down on the other lot.
What do they use for a setback?
For what?
Front setback. On a road that's not a road.
I'm making a line go across there, so I'm using the line as the setback line.
All right.
So the dotted line is the access for all the houses?
Yes.
So I think with the conservation comments, I think that those should be answered hopefully as we get the next submission with a little more
Yes.
information. So a lot configurations, that was satisfied through the ZBA approval.
I would think so.
The deeds, we have covered discussion on the deeds and obviously, once you get all this easement and right of way information sorted out, that will go a lot smoother. Written notice required to any mortgage lien holder. So. Yeah. Is there anything else that the board sees on this of concern? I'd make a motion to continue this application till our next meeting, which is October.
The 17th.
17th, yep.
Earlier.
Yeah, October 17th.
I'll second that.
So motion by Drew, seconded by Tom Hoops. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None.
Okay, so just to clarify, so the public hearing is being continued. So that way.
They
public
don't need to
input
renotice all that
Input.
laundry list of people.
Place at the next meeting.
Public input will take place at the next meeting.
Okay, just want to clarify that.
No, not till on this case, not until the next meeting.
Is there any
So-
reason why we couldn't do it here? Now?
What's that? Oh, okay. Well, next meeting, you can come back. Good, we've continued the case. We haven't decided on the case. Okay,
Excuse me. I have a quick question. Seeing he lives in the trailer next door, would it be wise to listen to him now to figure out what we may have to do for the next meeting?
he just left.
Oh. Well, it might be helpful to figure out what needed to
I
be worded.
agree.
Mhm.
I said,
Go
let
get
us
him.
speak.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
we'd take it up at the next meeting.
Okay.
So. All right. All right. Thank you.
Plan back.
Want that back?
Clean out the place.
Cleaned out the place.
Yeah. Oh.
So where's it gonna go? Is it gonna go?
That's right where he is.
Well, that cleared the room, didn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. So next case, P 23-21 Varney Engineering, Tom Varney, agent for the Volpe Family Revocable Trust. To amend an existing site plan to include the demolition and replacement of an existing cottage with a new larger one.
Mr. Chair, I would just like to let the board know that I did hear from Jeffrey Green, the surveyor, so he's aware. He's aware that they were using their plan to present tonight. That he was okay with not being noticed in time.
Okay,
So that satisfies that first section under planner's comments.
Was it?
Leaning on their shoulder.
I do have a copy of that letter, Jessica, if you need it, or the email from Mr. Green.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
already printed it out for the
Yep.
case file. Yes, but thank you. I appreciate it.
I can find glass with this one.
No, I got it right here.
Okay. What I did review. So this is the. Yes. Some of the other ones have a better picture. It is. Why was it that the ZBA sent it to us?
So it needs site plan, it needs site plan approval.
That's something new. I mean, they've been redoing them on the campground for years.
Right, and when you modify a non-conforming use, it needs site plan approval according to the non-conforming ordinance.
So
Unfortunately, every time someone does a change,
Now on.
they need to come in and amend their site plan, unfortunately, because the use as a campground is a non-conforming use in the residential zone. So every time there's a change, they have to come in and amend the site plans. Unfortunately,
That's what's not happened in the past.
No, that's what I'm saying.
How did, well, that's for another day, but we need to figure out how that came about.
But I see in the checklist that waivers are requested, yet I don't see.
But there's always waivers as long as you're on when it comes to the campground. There. I think they're all on pages. Starting at page
was there
4,
waivers?
probably.
Where did you see that there was waivers?
Right here.
I know we asked for at least one waiver for the
Okay.
deed restriction, showing all deeds covering the land to be used for public purposes. I believe that's the only one we submitted. It's right after the checklist in the application.
Okay, so there is a waiver for this application and I'm apologize for overlooking that.
A lot going on this one little plan.
There's just a lot going on in general.
All right, so this is waiver. We
Yeah, you guys have a copy of that.
do have a copy of it. I apologize. I just flipped through this twice and didn't see it. Waiver to 3.01 paren capital G on paren 9 point
Period.
period. God. Deed restrictions, and all deeds covering the land to be used for public purposes, easements and rights of way of property remain in private ownership and rights of drainage across private property submitted in a form satisfactory to the town council. Huh?
I think, well, you're not gonna get a deed that encompasses the whole property there. I mean, that's the deed,
Yeah, that is the deed.
you know, and
There is a deed for the land, like the whole campground itself, and then every house has their individual deeds.
So every house also has kind of a sub deed, if you will,
Yep, correct, for the building itself.
okay. So I guess I'm not familiar with any of the rules and restrictions for the campground up there.
Campground owns all the land. Individuals own houses.
Right, no, I understand that, but what I question is can you put a 4-story house in? Or, can you
No.
No,
it still
has
must-
Height restrictions.
full
Bradley,
basement?
as Brad
Can
Smith,
you, I don't know what the restrictions are
You
within
could
the,
put a basement, in, but you have to go to the ZBA for that. If it didn't have one, you'd have to go to the ZBA and get a special exception.
Don't you have to have campground permission too?
Yes,
You're gonna have that too, but that's.
Yeah, I don't want to get too far ahead, but Mr. Volpe can explain that pretty well, the process he went through with the campground itself.
Yeah, so it's a three-stage process. There's a building committee and you have to submit your plan for the building committee. And that has to be part of the covenants. So there's heights and all of those things, and look and feel and those kinds of things. And then you go to the board. And then the board approves that because there are no abutters, then the board is responsible for ensuring that there's sort of peace and harmony and that is approved. So then you go through that process and then we went to the after collecting all of that, then we went to the zoning and then they approved all of the plans. So it is that three-step process. And so the building there is pretty tightly governed by that process.
Okay. All right, so we're technically, we're still on completeness here. So I guess I'll make a motion to accept this application as complete.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Scott Williams. Any further discussion on the completeness? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Good. Okay, we got over that formality. So thank you for the explanation on the process, because it sounds a lot of hoops to jump through.
We've been working on this for about a year and a half.
Oh, gee.
So, and even at the last zoning meeting, the zoning board went, and even though the abutters don't have a particular say, they had a preference. So we actually redesigned the whole house so that they could get a view of their window down a particular. So we've been very, very open and kind of understanding what all the different constituents want.
That's the easiest way to get what you want.
And what's that?
That's the easiest way to get what you want.
And honestly,
With people.
and honestly, in this community, they didn't request it, but then we opened up the process and, you don't belong to that community to, alienate your neighbors. So no, they have approved it, understand it, and they're fine with it.
Which we kind of went through this with the zoning board and the technical definition of a butter. All the other people in the campground are not abutters. It's all the abutters to the entire lot. So
60 of them.
Done that a
actually,
few
there's only
times,
about, yeah, so, yeah, you probably did get the letter too, so.
Right, so before I go off on a tangent here, so we do have a waiver request. So I will make a motion to accept the waiver to 3.01 G9 having to do with deed restrictions considering the specific location of this subject property.
Scott Williams, second.
Seconded by Scott Williams. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
So is that second waiver
No, that's the first one. We talked about it and we unfortunately, I let the whole conversation go derail me. So we're back on track now. So now we can talk about the application and we've actually gotten a narrative and so application is complete. The single waiver has been accepted. So now we're into the actual review.
So do we have to accept it?
We did accept it.
Okay.
Yep. So no kitchens,
No kitchen?
no kitchen.
There is a kitchen. It's on
On
the
the second.
It's on the
floor.
second floor. So the design's going to be upside down. So the first floor are bedrooms and the second floor is,
Living space.
yes,
Just capitalize on a view.
exactly.
All right. Does anybody have the second floor plan?
Yeah. That's the basement plan. No, I do not.
Okay. Thought it was just me. That's why I was asking about the kitchen. I don't have a kitchen drawing.
Barbecue out on the patio.
My wife would be thrilled.
Clamshells right there.
Yeah.
Well,
I
the
thought
reason
the zoning
He says I have a
have
kitchen
that
is because the house came with one.
The zoning, yeah, the zoning plan, I thought it was the same exact.
It is, we can definitely provide a copy.
Just one of those things that caught my eye.
Yes. I mean, basically, it's just a box. And so the second floor is a galley kitchen and,
Kind
And
of
a
a
living-
living area, you know, so
exactly. I mean, it's,
where the best views are from.
So obviously it was a ZBA thing. Was there an increase in size or did like this side porch become living space or?
no, so there was a compromise where we reduced the footprint because we wanted to, everyone wanted to have more space between the buildings. And then we added the fire coating. And so as a result of that, we extended, there was
Oh, you got
two.
longer and thinner.
Exact, and no, a little bit wider because there's actually, there was 2 trees, so we cut down the trees. And so we basically gave back the porch and then extended it 2 feet to the right.
Using the cement siding,
Yes,
Yeah.
the pretty, yeah,
hardy plank,
yes. Sorry.
So
good
this,
stuff.
this has the new proposed location 9 feet away from the adjoining cottage. Am I reading that correctly?
That's extended. That's at extra.
That, yeah, and that is actually further away than the original cottage.
Yeah,
If
there,
you look at sheet 3, it shows the existing cottage. And actually between the 2 porches is only 2.9 feet currently.
That's also why there were 2 disastrous fires over the years.
Yeah, and
3,
yeah, 3.
1864 and then
To go less than 20 feet, it was decided a long time ago, if they went cement siding, they could go within 20 feet to meet the fire spec. And I saw at some point here where the director, Brad Smith, the campground has their own building code requirements, right?
Yeah, what did that fire?
You
Right.
required 10
So,
feet minimum.
You've met it.
correct. And
Did we
so
know?
it's a substantial upgrade. So this particular house is, you know, in terms of both plumbing and electrical, really outdated. There's only been 3 families in 100 years that have owned it.
Wow.
Doesn't even have a bathroom, does it?
The bathroom is a single toilet that just is upstairs.
With no walls.
Yes.
Right.
And,
Been in there, all
I
right.
haven't been in there, but I'm kind of from the campground.
oh, so yeah,
I
absolutely.
built Ron Bell's places.
Okay. Oh, yeah, yeah. So yes. So,
Plus you grew up there.
Plus I grew up there.
so the single, you know, and so we looked at trying to renovate it, but the reality is you can't,
Good money after bad.
you can't, if plumb level square,
If we approved this.
all the electrical and needs to be gone, the plumbing, you really can't do anything.
You're gonna have a better product when you're
You-
done here.
It's gonna be safer. It's gonna be more compliant.
Yep.
And I think to your point,
more
to the-
comfortable.
Yeah.
and the electrical is a big issue right now.
Well, it's also all the, only,
I do all that.
not even a half a dozen
Yeah.
old ones left, you know, they've all been renewed down in that neighborhood.
Yes, yes. And they've all,
1, 2, 3, 4.
there's just the one that's left
Only 5 feet away from the
Thanks.
porch, but they're saying that's
next to, what's the name?
2'9".
They own a farm they own the farm and they do the donuts. I'm terrible with names. They do the cider donuts and,
Nothing to do with zoning.
they just put on a tin roof. Next to,
But it's,
across from, right next to Mezzi's and across from Coach.
we don't have to say. in-
Not,
No. You know,
yeah, the little one between Bells.
Yes, yes.
Talking about tearing that down and rebuilding.
You know, his son, there was, I think because after the rainstorm,
Bird, oh, one bird.
yeah,
Oh, that's a part.
yeah. And I think because of the rainstorm, I think there was some speaking, I think their son did it.
I didn't believe metal roofs were allowed on the campground That metal roof is gonna shed onto Bell's property. If snow comes off there, it's gonna load Ron Bell's porch.
So they were not approved and then they just were. So it's,
But you can put
Turn
stops on that metal roofs.
I'm sorry.
So if the whole thing doesn't come off at once.
yes. But that's a cottage. It's two doors down.
So my point was all the cottages in this area are becoming new, torn down and renewed.
Yes, they are. I mean, I was questioning I do have a concern about the proximity to the adjacent structure. And I recognize that there's been efforts to make it better. But I think our code official, I guess, is the one who will be reviewing and decide, making the final decisions on that.
Which he already has. Like, we kind of went back and forth at the zoning meeting about which variances we needed and whatnot, and we determined that the two variances we asked for were the correct two, and it's been approved with those variances, so. There's a lot of, we moved the building quite a bit and there was a lot of compromises and whatnot, and this is where everybody agreed the best location for the building would be.
And at least they're not permitting any more canvas buildings.
Did you say
Yeah, that's good.
canvas?
Yes.
It's the 64 fire. They were almost all canvas. The whole thing just went up in flames.
Well, the 45 fire was the big one where 220 some odd houses.
No,
went.
1864.
No, 1945 was the big fire.
All right, so
Really?
Mr. Chair, just.
one of these days, we're gonna all sit around and have a beer and talk history on the town. Not tonight.
No fun.
Chair, I do know that the fire department did look at these plans. So if they had any issues with that, I would
One
hope
would
that
have
that.
thought that
I
they might have
did look,
raised.
But
was
it,
addressed.
it doesn't really say for building a process.
Mr.
Yeah.
Volpe met with the fire chief on the property and
And-
I'll let you explain.
Yes, so they had in the zoning, so we had a
Site walk.
site walk.
Yep.
And so he had a concern and then he came and looked at it and withdrew his concern because because you have two egresses to this house, which is right on the corner. And the reality is the existing houses are already so close that they couldn't get down that anyway because there's a stone wall and all the existing houses came out a little bit. And so this isn't changing that open space. And so he has the same access that he has now.
So is the structure that you're proposing, let me back that up, is the existing structure seasonal only?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's right now, it's just a cottage.
Yeah.
It's- Yeah.
And the proposed structure is also going to be seasonal only?
Seasonal. It's not our primary resident.
That wasn't the question.
Yeah. Will it be?
It's
is it
gonna have
year-round?
it's gonna have a full foundation.
Got a full foundation. It looks like it's got insulation.
I think the word is it can support year-round use. I think that's
Okay, so here's the
whether
question.
how they use it or how it will be used.
The question is,
later on.
is it gonna have town water,
Yeah.
winter water,
It already has town water.
winter water?
It has winter water right now.
I don't think it has winter
I don't
water
think it has
now.
winter water.
That line that runs along the ground, do well in the winter.
No, so that line, that house actually doesn't use that line. There's actually,
One come off and
there's if you go by the side of the house, there's just a spigot that comes in from the town. And so that when we close it in the fall, we call the town and they come in and they close.
town water off Route 11 at that point.
Exact.
Is it or not?
It's not off Route 11. There's actually a name that sits right in
It
between.
goes right down the middle of the road,
Yes,
right there, and everybody is off it.
yes.
But not everybody has winter water. The main line is down,
Main line has covered.
the lines come up. They don't all
No.
down all
Well,
winter level. You don't have a basement, so You couldn't have a winter level line.
That,
So the question he has is yes, it will be used 12 months. It can be used 12 months out of the year.
I think there is winter water that goes up that street because I dug it one time for the water department. That's down 4
But
feet.
he's saying the main is, but,
Yeah.
but he's saying the branch lines, the services to each one of the house, the domestic lines, because they come up so rapidly to meet the
Yep.
camps, that those are not winterized.
But it will support winter water. I think that's,
But it can be.
So it could, obviously, you're gonna, once
do
you
it-
tear the old cottage out, you're gonna be running a new line into there
You're
anyway.
definitely
and-
gonna put in winter water. You're not gonna.
Yeah.
And we talked to the water department and she mandated right now, we just turn it on and off. But she said if we did anything to the cottage, she
for
would-
box and meters.
she would require us to put a meter in there.
Right.
Which we said, fine. And as you know, the meter has water in it, so you've got to keep it warm. So as soon as we put a meter in, it has to be in a situation where you wrap it or keep it warm.
Or you drain it.
You
Or
can
you
drain it.
or you drain the
You
meter.
can shut the curb box outside and
Yeah,
then drain it off.
end up
inside.
putting probably a new gate in, new service entirely.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure that's what
Full
they do.
coverage. and-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we agree, she requested that and we agreed to that.
So I guess the question wouldn't necessarily be to us. It would be to the campground, whether or not the campground would allow it to be a 12-month cottage or a season.
Yeah, it's a change in use
Mhm.
as well. And did that get addressed by?
And that's a separate application. We've not applied for
Right.
that. There's an application to be a year round.
Year round,
We,
right.
there's, I believe, 14 year round.
Well, at least I would say.
Yeah, at least is right.
And that's all with the campground. It's with it, because it's their septic system and so.
Exactly. And there's a different
Right.
structure dues. So we're not,
You're not applying for that.
we're not applying for that.
Need.
Yeah, if a change from seasonal to year-round use is proposed, then approval of a special exception is needed from the zoning board of adjustment under section 320. Capital A dot 4 dot.
Well, that'd have been a handy thing to have when you were in there.
Yeah.
But it's not something that you're planning on anyway.
No.
Still, if you're tearing it down, I'd put the stuff in and then ask for something later.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
do everything. You
Once
do
the
everything
ground
to
is
prepare
taken up.
for it.
Put new pipes in.
Yes, that's what we were, that's,
Down frost level.
yes, that's exactly, that's what we're planning on doing. We're just planning.
But
on
if
using
your
it
life
for season.
changes and you want to spend part of the winter here, then you go back to the campground and to the ZBA.
Yes.
Alrighty then.
I am rather surprised that we didn't get something from the fire department.
You did.
Did.
Well, discussing a rated assembly.
All you did,
Separation.
fire department response attached, but I didn't see any attachment other than the sentence they had after it. No issues as long as fire codes and ABCCC fire protection requirements are observed for full building process. I think that's all we have. But Alston's fire department's response attached. And then in this part of the same line is,
Well,
Yeah, it
The
might have just been
attachment, I think.
attached in the.
I do feel like
packet.
I'm missing something.
I should reword that.
yeah, I think this was the attached part to that.
That was
email.
attached to that.
Right. Here, wait a minute. There. All right, okay, so getting back in line here. So following items need to be addressed and or added to the plan, seal and signature of all professionals assisting with the preparation of the application. And that the executive summary states that the existing use is residential and should be, and the proposed use will remain residential. But the use is actually for a campground, so this should be updated in the executive summary.
Yeah, both of those things can easily be addressed.
Yeah, I think the official name is the Alton Bay Christian Conference Center, isn't it?
It changes.
camp
weekly.
meeting.
I know, that's what I thought.
Does it? I
It's the
think they just,
retreat center now, I think.
and I think they just changed the name again
Oh, is that right?
with the new board. Yeah.
Right now, it's the Alton Bay Camp Meeting
So
Association.
it's been.
Oh, that's been it's been one of the aliases for a long time, that one.
It's the ABCAC, was that?
Well, that's what Brad Smith, the director, he referred to it as ABCCC, Alton Bay Christian Conference Center.
Yes. And they keep changing the last C
Yeah,
in terms
To a
of
C to
conference
an
center
A.
or camp or
So what is it?
So it's the Alton Bay Camp Meeting Association. That's the owner of the property.
well, you,
Business as the Alton Bay.
you checked
Christian
the
Conference
tax
Center.
records for that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So that should be, they should really get with the program and refer to it as such.
Right. Should
You
be
know.
like DBA.
Yeah, or they can do
Alton
all their
Bay.
aliases after
Yeah,
that if
so,
they
so,
want.
not to split hairs, because we all know, but really, when we get these documents in, that this will need to be done per the approved ABCCC building permit. But is that the ABCCC or is it the ABCAC or is it?
Well, Jess just said that the tax record shows Alton Bay Camp
Camp
Meeting
Meeting.
Association. And I would probably do a request to them saying, if you're going to be doing something, you should match the tax record.
Yes, owner of
It's
record,
confusing.
yes.
Right.
Yeah,
And if they want to have Alton Bay Christian Conference Center as one of their aliases, knock yourself out.
all right, so, the zoning ZBA granted their it's variation there, but I'm getting tired. I can't even put sentences together. Fire protection, so the fire department had some brief comments on that. Traffic impact analysis. I think the idea is that there will be no change in the traffic impact because there's really no change in.
That
the
is a road
use.
about 10, 12 feet wide.
Right. And there's no change in the use, whether it be residential or campground.
Right.
The non-sewered area system siting requirements, that's already covered as an existing structure with existing coverage. Off-street parking is not applicable. Site landscaping. I'm not sure you got much left to landscape, do you?
we don't own, right? We don't own the land. So all the landscaping is done by, but
Oh,
you're,
that's right.
but
that's
it's,
right.
but they're they're just roads
Yeah.
and dirt and pine needles. So there's no,
One thing at some
mowing?
point,
what's that?
So that's.
No mowing?
that's an
No
NA.
mowing.
Yeah, so,
at some point, the campground should be asked where this is technically adding septic loading. They meter their septic, correct?
No.
They don't? I thought in the,
Well, this cottage was included in the original septic design and it's not changing the number of bedrooms that it was originally allocated.
that's,
Okay.
that was gonna be my question. It's an existing two-bedroom cottage, you're adding to a two-bedroom cottage, replacing it with a two-bedroom cottage.
Correct.
Okay.
So you're obviously taking down the big tree on the corner.
That's correct.
Any other big trees?
That tree's already gone.
Yep. And we took, and that was, we've been doing this for a year and a half, and that was actually work that we did in the winter. They wanted that tree down. And so we took that tree down.
I just know
that was a
what-
big
I
bull
just know
pine,
on the
wasn't it?
top there, There's a lot of roots, so I didn't, because you just start digging at roots, trees are gonna come down, so I just.
Well, so we took the two trees that are on the side of the building. So one is a huge tree.
Yeah.
And
That was between the two buildings?
right next to us. And then there was another one on the corner. And that's the reason why ostensibly the house isn't going to change any footprint or any traffic, because that's where two trees were. And now you're just gonna have a foundation.
Yeah, it's good to get those big bull pines out of there
Yes.
before they kill people.
That was,
Plant a little tree.
and that, so that was part of, there's been a lot of discussion in terms of how do we take that porch away and how do we mitigate with the trees? And so, we're just working with everyone to make everything safer and
It's just that I know that whole path there that goes is like all roots.
Down.
So, yeah, down. So if there was
Disturbing the
trees
roots,
connected to those roots and you start digging a foundation and you start chomping away from those roots.
but the trees are gone.
things are gone.
Trees are gone.
The
All
trees
right,
are-
so next item on the list, lighting, which I think we can skip over that. Obviously, we don't want any bright lights shining up into the air or down onto the roads and
Dark sky compliant.
dark sky, that's our goal. The stormwater drainage and erosion control. So you said that, and I guess it didn't look that way to me in the drawings, but the overall impermeable surface area is being reduced. Is that correct?
No, it
No,
is slightly
5 something.
increased. But due to that, for when we go to apply for the shoreline permit, we are doing drip edges for stormwater control. And that's about all we can do.
And that is really good
Without-
sand right there, good soils.
If we wanted to do like catch basins or stuff like that, it would be more of a bigger project with the whole campground itself. And like,
Yeah. I mean, I
Said
think,
it's- it's
you know,
great soil
managing the roof water in a drip edge, I think makes a lot of sense. and
Absolutely.
Allow it to slow it and then perk.
Yep.
All right, snow hazards, snow storage and removal. You've already stated this is going to be seasonal use. So we're not worried about that, correct?
Correct.
and the plan does show snow storage where Mrs. Richards showed it on the last site plan. It's over by the 3 proposed cottages. So I know it doesn't really relate to the site where we're working, but there is an area shown.
That's just for clearing the roads.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you wanted, we could show, you know, a little.
It's not necessarily your road. It's the road that you happen to be on.
So many new.
It's the whole camp. right?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
whole camp.
It's
What
not
sheet? What sheet is that?
sheet 1.
Okay.
Over by the water lines that Stephanie had shown, the 3 proposed cottages approved last year.
Yep.
Right on the 250-foot shoreline setback line, there's just a little, either way, it's there, but like, if you wanted us to show another spot up by our cottage, another easy thing we could add to the plan. Or if you're not too concerned, then just move on.
Yeah, I don't think we're concerned because you've already stated that this is seasonal use, so you don't need to plow out your parking area. Hours of operation, not applicable. Utilities, we did discuss the water already. We've discussed septic and power. I assume it already has power to it.
Does.
Probably are gonna want it for the new place too.
Good chance of that, maybe.
Touch the pole, can't you?
I could get a generating bicycle, you know.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, so obviously, with the excavation process and all of that, with the foundation next to that pole, it's gonna be making sure you don't electrocute yourself or lay any poles
We
down.
are. So we've talked to the power company and they have a plan in terms of what they want to do with that.
So that'll be another updated pole, which will be nice. Or you go underground to it, which should be even better.
There's too many houses coming off it.
Oh, there are.
Yeah. But we must go 3 or 4 ways, right?
Yeah.
All right, so no other departments had any comments or concerns? All right,
Are they at least gonna relocate that to the other side of the drive?
So right now it's on the corner, actually on the other side. And then there's another power power down that hill.
Yeah.
That current power line down the hill is not compliant with the height. So they're in a discussion with engineering as to how they want to comply with their own code.
Yeah.
And so we've had that in for probably 9 months or so, and they're working through
What is the actual number of the house that you're talking?
one Manchester.
Okay, there, thank you.
all right. Anything else from board? Open this up to public? No? No, all right, yeah. Well, you're the only guy out there. All right,
Wait for his turn.
hearing none, close the public session. All right. I just want to point out, it's not my fault this is dragging on.
Oh,
All right, all right, so planning board options,
Thresholds.
thresholds, I'm sorry, thresholds.
when do you plan on starting?
Yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, we've been working on this for a year and a half. So first I got to get we got to now say, no one wants to give me an estimate or anything till I get approval. So
Yeah.
I have a number.
Springtime start most likely?
Yeah,
That's no good.
what's that?
Springtime, that's no good because by
Well,
July
this is up.
4th, you gotta stop.
Yeah, you got to stop during
We
the,
need to start now.
so yeah, we might.
Clerk of the works here, cracking the whip.
So we might, right, we might do some of the demolition in the winter and then start in the spring, but we have to stop during the summer months. As
All right,
though-
so for the definition of active and substantial development, we will say for the demolition of the building.
Yeah.
Start of the demolition of the
Yeah,
building.
that's good.
Because that could also include disconnection of utilities.
Right.
And threshold for active and substantial completion.
Actually, maybe your foundation too. Get
Yeah,
that. in.
get the foundation, get it decked over.
Yeah,
Uh,
ideally, we,
That's doable.
yeah, ideally we get that in the spring. And I have to talk to the building inspector in terms of at what level can we live it? We're gonna probably do it ideally in 2 stages, get it up and going and then stop in the summer. But stop at some point where we could live in it.
yeah, good luck with that.
First thing I would
Um,
do is not talk to the building.
so substantial completion would be established by a certificate of occupancy.
That would make sense. Yep.
Okay, all in agreement on that?
Yep.
Yep.
Sorry, what was that again?
C of O. Certificate of occupancy. Would be substantially complete.
If not completely complete.
Okay. So board can consider moving to approve the application if they so desire.
Good.
We have conditions precedent,
And subsequent.
which obviously is, let's see, submission of revised plans and the number required site plan regulations and all the corrections.
Yep.
Addition of a note on the site plan, for signing the planning board chair
Number of sheets.
huh?
It's just to put the number of sheets on there.
Just the number of sheets.
Yep.
Addition of a note on the site plan, prior to signing that this site plan is subject to the conditions approval itemized in September decision. And obtain and submit a copy of your shoreline permit.
And that was it. I don't think you guys added anything else on.
No, I don't think we added anything else on there. I am still concerned about the proximity to adjacent structures, but we'll let the building department deal with that. And then subsequent conditions, that all the improvements, I mean, these are all the standards,
They are.
so I won't read them all. Okay, anybody want to make a motion?
Yep, Mr. Chairman, on case P 23-21, I'll move to approve the plan as presented with conditions precedent as well as subsequent conditions.
Okay, so we have a motion by Scott. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Tom Hoops. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
I,
Aye. Any opposed? None. You're all set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
one more step behind you.
I appreciate it.
Have a great evening.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see, on the old business, none on the agenda. New business, review the RFP for the town engineer review services.
So I went ahead and prepared the RFP, as I had last time, although I updated, information, the background and
Excuse me,
information.
Mr. Chairman, would it be possible to just go out of line and let Mr. Hertel cycle through? So maybe he could go home? He would like to.
Well, he's missing out on an education.
He's very next on the list.
Yeah, I know, but
And I gotta believe this is gonna go fairly quickly.
okay.
So we'll keep with the flow here. You guys could keep your narratives down to a minimum. We'll do fine on this.
Picking on us. It's usually you, Tom, that he picks on.
I know, you notice he's been awful quiet tonight.
So do you want me to just point out the changes then?
Yes, please.
Okay, so as I was saying, the background information has just been updated. To have, more relevant numbers. And the chart over here, that's been updated. Everything else throughout the document staying the same, except for the last page. Page 4, just includes updated dates as to, when I'm anticipating the RFP to be sent out. If people have questions, is a deadline for that. Answers being sent out, RFP submission deadlines, and projected interview date.
Excellent. I make a motion to accept the this RFP and to authorize Jessica to release it and get it out.
I'll second it. Or go ahead.
No, Tom. go ahead.
Seconded and thirded by Scott and Tom. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. All right. Mr. Hertel. So it's a request for the extension of approval dated August 16th, 2023 for the self-storage facility. And so let's see, so your note says like to request an extension to complete conditions precedent on my conditional approval that was granted on March 1st, 2022 and extended to August 21, 2023. For my self-storage facility, the reason for the extension is to finish securing the financing for the project. I appreciate the board's consideration. Aren't we past August 21?
A little bit.
Right,
Okay,
so.
just checking.
So the request was submitted on August 16th. So technically he did submit the request before that extension expired. It just hadn't gotten to you guys yet.
Okay. And so I guess I'd have to get a little refreshed in my mind here on the
And
dates.
actually, I've been working with Mr. Hertel with getting that letter of credit approved by town council. So he's already reviewed it, sent it back.
Oh, he's been working.
So there
towards it.
is, so yeah, I mean, that
I'm
there is,
closing the loan. I'm closing the loan tomorrow to
Yeah.
look at.
oh, perfect.
Good for you.
Yeah, thank you.
So if we,
So
give
we
you-
are
so we
moving
can give
forward.
you an extension to what, September 20th?
Tomorrow.
Sure, just check.
And the longer he waits, the safer he is in terms of finance.
Yeah. Well,
The longer he waits, I think it's going the wrong direction for a little while. Yeah. Should have
Yeah,
done it a year and a half ago, 2
Yeah.
years ago, but
You
Let's
you
show-
never know, right?
no.
You never know.
Uh,
No, I am closing the loan. Town council has approved the letter of credit to bond the road that I'm upgrading, so that's all set. The buildings will be ordered as soon as the bank will release the funds for the deposit. And the buildings are about 6 to 8 months out right now.
Yep, and I believe the two items that were left for the conditions precedent were obtaining the bond and having a pre-construction meeting.
Got to do the
Like that
pre-construction,
was-
meeting, which we discussed and then you explained to me.
Yep, yeah, so that's pretty much, that's kind of the only thing that's left as far as planning goes.
So if the buildings are 8 months out, then once they get here, they bang, they're up. So another year's extension ought to do it, shouldn't it?
Oh, I would think at the most.
Because if he's in process,
Yeah.
he's in process.
Yep.
No, I'd
So
say
you-
a year at least.
So the original extension or the original dates were what?
March. They came in, we had
It
a
was March
special meeting
1st.
that night. It was March 1st of 2022.
Was for,
I
That
think
was
we
when it
gotta
got
give him an
approved.
18-month.
that was the date it was
Give you room.
approved.
Yep.
How about 18 months? Just extend this thing for,
And
get us over the hump.
we gave them to what, March of 2023?
So it got extended to August
Right,
21st.
and what I'm trying to do is get that first one
Sorry.
was March 2023, and then we extended to
to
August.
Yep.
All right, so we did a 6-month. So
Why don't we go 18 months, which will be 2/21/25 for completion? Or
yeah, I mean, I don't
I mean,
foresee any.
he could have a couple more hiccups along the way and he doesn't need to be in here every 5 minutes. Mr. Chairman, I'll move on this application to extend the application, the approval to 2/21/25. That'll be 18 months past the August 21/23 date.
Okay, so we have a motion by Scott Williams. Do we
I'll
have a second?
second that.
Seconded by Tom Hoops. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Enjoy. Have a good night.
Cheers. Yeah. Hope you guys get out of here soon.
Me too.
Oh, no, we're gonna have more fun.
Boy, that skips lunch. All right, next up is discussion for CIP and ZAC committees.
First question I have, has the fire department determined whether their equipment lifespan is 20 or 25 years? I've asked that the last 2 years.
20 or 25?
They used to be 25 years and all of a sudden they're calling it 20 years and I want to know how that happened and why it happened. This fire department stuff is going through the roof cost wise. I mean, you know, we paid $230,000 for a tanker and it's going to be like $800,000 now.
I remember when we got one M4, you know, it was under 100,000. I thought that was a lot.
Engine 5 was $68,000.
So what is the timing for our review and
Starts soon, doesn't it?
recommendations regarding this CIP?
So the CIP committee is scheduled to appear at the October meeting. So they're going to present the plan to you guys at the October meeting, and then at that point, you schedule the public hearing for November.
Okay,
But there was a real discussion about the concept of trying to get it as soon as possible so that it was ready prior to the review by the selectmen.
Right.
So that it was more of a tool for them and for the budget committee even.
I'm glad to see the selectmen have finally started to buy into this
Yeah,
program.
it's taken them a long time. As you and I have
That's
noticed.
an understatement.
The question we had at our last meeting was, are they?
Well, I thought they were. I see all kinds of equipment down at the fire station, so,
Same thing down to the public.
yeah, highway,
Department,
yeah.
you know? I mean, nowhere around here are you gonna, or maybe it is now, I don't know, they want this side of the road mower. Well, geez, we didn't have that in our plan. Well, he was just gonna go out and buy it. That's what they do with a lot of them. I mean, there must be 1,000 one-ton.
Well, the way to fix this is you need to take as selectmen, as agents to expend. You take that out of the motion, it has to go to to a vote. The problem with that is if the highway department has a catastrophic failure or something, they go without until next year.
It's called this summer.
Well, they have.
They didn't get to what they wanted, what they had planned for the year. They've been rebuilding.
Well, yeah, well, that's Mother Nature caused that, but, so to fix what you just said, you need to remove the selectmen as agents to expend off of that. Because they put that on there, and when Dave Hussey was here, they were buying backhoes and all kinds of stuff, and everybody saying, where's all this stuff coming from? Because they had money in capital reserve, and they started spending.
Used goods.
So is there,
So this isn't obviously a completed plan yet.
right,
And so the CIP committee hasn't had the opportunity to start sort of doing the shell game with numbers as far as deposit amounts. So this is just a preliminary plan, just to give you guys an idea of what we're working on.
yeah, because there's, I think there's a lot to take in on this.
You put this under your pillow type of thing and let it soak in. There's a lot here, but as I said before, I'm glad to see something is happening with this, whether it's appropriate or not, I guess that's up to
Yeah,
whoever.
But I mean, who was it? Former selectman who was here, was adamant about the idea of trying to get the results of the CIP as early as we can so that it could be used as the formative planning for the selectmen and the others. So that if it's a better tool that way, then let's let them use a better tool. So that just means more work for the CIP, unfortunately.
Right, and this year, I think our first couple of meetings, we didn't have a quorum. So
You need extras?
So that put us way out a lot further than I wanted to be.
You need extra members?
No, I think we're all set now, but
No, but I mean, if you do, let me know. I mean, if you need an alternate or something to be able to call on.
I guess another thing that I'd like to ask to the CIP committee is to not only the fire department lifespan, like I see a Hitachi Lodi here that shows a 5-year lifespan. My goodness, that's absurd for a piece of heavy equipment.
a loader ought to last a lot longer.
At
than that.
least 10 years. Mine's 13 years old and I bought it and it's like a baby carriage. It's nice. You know, vibratory 10-year lifespan on a asphalt roller. I mean, come on, they last a lot longer than that. Articulated loader sidewalk machine, 7-year lifespan, 10-year lifespan, 6-year lifespan. We need to bump those
Realistic.
things up. I mean,
We got to determine where they're coming up with these figures.
yeah, well,
They may want to
Right,
consider
so
too the maintenance.
we're meeting tomorrow night
yeah,
with these two departments.
okay.
So I can ask sort of
Good.
what's the
Yeah, well, they're
what's
the,
the thought process to that? It could be because they're, taking those and trading it in. So they want to, trade it in a little bit earlier
Well,
so that it actually has some value.
yeah, well,
So I'm not- But I'm not sure. I don't know where
I've
that's
seen
going.
municipal equipment go for like bargain basement prices. Like try to buy a used fire truck, see what it costs you, nothing.
Yeah.
You know, but I think the selectmen should be, and I wish we had a selectman's representative here this evening, but
Nope.
but they are the ones that need to establish these lifespans and pass that down to the department heads.
Well, the interesting thing is that Hitachi Lodi you talked about with the 5-year lifespan is not accounted for in the 5 years that are laid out.
They already have it. It's sitting down there.
No, I know, but it shows that it should, they're saying, hey, we should replace it in 2027. It's not there, nor is it in 28 or 29. So, but like you said, there's a lot more work. This still
Yeah.
needs to be fine tuned in
Yeah.
that, but that's a great point that
Yep.
that equipment is not designed like a Hyundai. It's
Yeah, it's real stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, it's expensive stuff. I mean, in the fire department and the highway department, they have the most expensive toys of anybody in town. So I get why they need to be watched. But nice job, whoever is working on the CIP. I feel it's very nicely presented.
And then the ZAC committee.
Thank you.
Um,
Yep.
So the summary of the proposals, and I know I had an opportunity to talk to Tom Hoops briefly before the meeting regarding the yeah.
Well, I quickly,
Amendment 3 there, the
there were three things that I was concerned with. One that Scott and I have agreed with for I don't know how many years. The more these places can be screened, the better off we are. Whether it's a curved driveway, setback further, something. The more it's not seen, the more it
Eagles
doesn't
Terrace.
exist. The other thing is, I think that, in preparation for this, if we're moving into the rural zone, there are good gravel roads, there are bad gravel roads, there are good paved roads and there are bad paved roads. We somehow have to figure out at what point too many units involve rebuilding of a road or make it, what's the word? Premature.
Things that Zach are working on right now, we're working on stuff that the homeowners association or something of that nature will maintain control of these roads. Because we're going to be looking at, I shouldn't say offering, we're looking at
Narrower.
not narrower roads, closer density, leaving the masses natural. And so needless to say, the roads will be shorter, and which is a good thing
Yeah.
because road construction is just off the charts expensive.
Well, I think it's extremely needed.
Yeah.
It's a very important thing.
Right. I see what you're saying though, Tom. So it's the road.
At
off of
some point,
Right.
for instance,
road.
where I am pretty much at the end of a dirt road, to add,
Mhm.
30 units wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. The road wouldn't hold up.
But Tom, you can drive home all year long now.
I know. Used to have to use
He
the
used to park
tractor,
half mile down the street.
but it's something that should be at least mentioned.
Right. That's a good point.
And there's one other one is the form of ownership and the common land, whether it's condominium, whether it's whatever else. One of the things that we discovered that was really important in a subdivision, if there's common land, a percentage of it belongs to every unit so that it's not forgotten and taxes aren't paid on it.
Taxes will be paid on it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's common land and there are 20 units, everyone pays 1/20th.
Right.
So that it
And-
doesn't get, because that's where Trask got screwed.
And that common land needs to be strongly controlled of what can happen out
Yep.
there. Walking trails or something like that. Yeah, that's good. Get them out, people out in the woods. I have no problem with that because that's probably a 6-foot wide path, but let them snowmobile and get to the main course or what have you.
Well, even, some of the common land for an overflow use for septic, if necessary.
Yep.
That, I don't see a problem with that, because
Nope.
once it's grassed over.
Or the community well,
Exactly.
put that out there in the rotate,
Yeah.
because the diameter is much larger on a community well than
Yeah, but-
75 feet. I think it's
But
300.
the concept of flexibility
Right.
is important. And I think, what was the word you started to use earlier? The word cluster is forbidden.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Why we keep using it.
Because it's what we've heard about since the 60s.
But I mean, the concept is definitely needed. And I don't even think sometimes if the really positive land happens to be in the front of the lot, you might have to build a longer road to a certain degree. But I don't see a problem with that. I mean, yeah, it's cost wise, but in some cases, having the protected land in the front is your screening.
But the land will tell that story.
Yes, exactly.
So,
But I mean, that kind of spelling out has to be worded in such a way that a potential developer sees it and says, oh, well, you know, I can't just bullshit my way through this.
All right, so that was amendment 3. So amendment 1 just basically was clarifying that bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
It was to 1 to 5 guests. And I
Yep.
think that, you know, so the ZAC committee will explain all this stuff better when the time comes. Amendment number 2 was junkyard. So this is kind of getting things in line with the RSA and the state's language and wording. Number 3, we talked about that one, and that one's the bulk, and there's still a little more work needs to be done on that. The
number 3 has got a lot of work to be done.
yeah, and we kind of knew that going into it.
Yeah, but it's worth spending the time on it.
Yeah, and number 4 is the condominiums to be consistent with state laws, just kind of a little tweaking and tuning of that. Number 5 was the self-storage facility to be leased, and we added or sold because that is this kind of new thing that's coming around.
Condominium story.
Condominiumized.
To put their
storage
toys in.
I mean,
facilities.
we do have one condominiumized dock system.
Yeah, yeah.
See, number 6 was the short-term rentals to be allowed in the recreational service zone. Now, this was a little more complex.
Yeah.
This had to do with a notification error at the time of voting. So this is gonna clean it up and make it legally correct.
Well, I had a real severe question there because it's not permitted in the
Lakeshore Recreation.
recreational service.
It
has-
is.
You're right. So yes, and I
I
see.
mean, the only thing permitted there is recreational and service, basically marinas.
It should say no, not, oh, it should say N, not a Y.
Okay, that's why I had it circled.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Even though we assigned it for, that's where adult
wait.
entertainment has to take place intentionally.
Yeah, time out.
Let me backtrack that. So it's supposed to say yes. It's not allowed in the residential zone, not the recreational service zone. So it's fine as is. I
Yeah.
take back what I just said.
So when we did the vote, because there are fewer than 100 properties, they all had to be notified individually. We didn't do that. So now we got to, now we have.
Right.
We're gonna make it all right and
Yep.
make it legal so that they can vote on that and make that.
This is for
determination.
the notifying short-term people or?
No, notifying those residences within the residences within the recreation service zone.
It shouldn't be residents, it should be property owners.
Yeah, property owners. thank you.
Because there are very few residents,
Right.
Yeah.
There's
yeah.
not a lot of,
Property
aside from Milt,
owners.
aside from Milts.
Right.
Yeah.
There's about 25 property owners in the recreation service zone.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
this is housekeeping only that. we added on.
Number 7, I don't know if you folks remember this from 2 years ago, but the state had passed a law about basically restricting what we can say that religious buildings can do.
Right.
And we kind of backed off on it. We said, well, let's see if this thing holds water for, goes through a whole nother legislative session. Well, it did hold water.
Yeah.
So the recommendation from our council here in town is that we probably should adopt
Yep.
that RSA.
And we're
wording of that
originally going to use the word churches, but we figured that could have been left somebody out. And so we says religious use of structures.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, no, it's far better to do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's what the state.
Yeah.
Defines it as. And so because the definition was,
So it should mirror.
didn't change, it's still the same. So we just needed to change the word.
Yeah. And amendment number 8, which has to do with the Shoreland Water Quality Protection Act. It's the way things were originally worded or previously worded in our zoning kind of sounded like we didn't care, just go talk to the state.
Yeah.
Well, this is saying we're adopting what the state says and therefore we can enforce it.
Well, I thought we originally adopted it. And
The wording just, I guess, wasn't quite right for that, for us to be able to enforce it. We adopted it,
the first year it came out.
The town may have adopted it,
Yeah.
but the way the ordinance was written, the town can't enforce. They have to, everything that
Yeah.
comes in needs to just get pushed off.
but you
the
should go to
state.
the black hole. I mean, the state.
And,
Um,
and one more thing, Jess, I think we got to add to this, if you'd make a note of this, please. In some zones, i.e. the rural zone, duplexes are not allowed. Now, we have a home with an ADU. What's that become? A duplex. So I think we need to fix that somehow.
Well, no,
But I'd like to talk to the committee about it and see what they
So-
feel.
So town council's been, we've been talking between Tara and town council on whether those, yeah, so that's being addressed right now.
Okay,
Hopefully we'll have a clear answer.
can you please, do it so we
The
can
next
discuss it
committee,
there with
yeah.
them?
but is an ADU,
Additional dwelling unit,
no, I know,
accessory dwelling unit.
but if it happens to be separate,
It can be detached.
yeah,
Yes, it could, or it can be attached.
it's still considered a duplex.
Well, no, I wouldn't consider it a duplex if it was detached. I would consider it a duplex if it was attached.
Right. Well,
Because the ADU has to be smaller than the,
750 square feet.
Yeah.
But we've been looking at, on this Article 3 is to having probably under 100,000 square foot. But now will you add that you can have, every house can have an ADU on it. So now it's 17, could be 1,750 square feet, and we're kind of shooting ourselves in the foot for affordable housing. So, and we've got to allow for that in somehow in the layout of all this stuff.
we can't lose sight of the intent that we're trying to.
Right, right.
and the question then becomes one, if you're gonna have an ADU with each site, if it's been a vastly reduced lot, then how do you work it?
By the sounds of it, ADU must be provided for.
Right, so we're trying to find out how that's gonna work with having the multiple houses on one lot. When it's only allowed, when there's only one ADU allowed.
And we want to be able to
Currently.
let people have a garage.
Yeah. Well,
You know?
the next question becomes one then of how do you tie the ADU to the house so that it can't be tried to separate and sell off?
Well, we can
That's
deed,
part of
we
the
can
ADU
restrict
ordinance.
that in the covenants.
Yeah, and the ADU.
Well, no,
ordinance.
and that's the other problem is if you can build more, even on a larger lot.
And I think this, just guessing, when the state septic system approval comes in, they will say this is not for condominiumization or something like that. My project over here, I only can rent units. I can't sell them by my state septic approval. I was a little surprised when I saw that, but Yeah.
You can't sell them?
I cannot sell them as a condominium, each one of those units over there, because the state said no. And I don't know how that affects the septic loading, but apparently they know something I don't.
Wow.
Yeah,
Don't go as often.
All right. So approval of minutes. Do we have minutes?
See minutes.
Should have minutes.
This DOT, is that unique?
I didn't
It
see
should be
minutes
here.
in the
Yep.
package.
You guys didn't get them? Well, I got them.
what's that? Minutes?
Copies of the minutes?
Should that, so do you want to just
Yeah, I get it.
continue?
I
to
don't
the-
think, yeah, let's continue those.
Let's continue those till next month. Yeah, I don't think I saw them nor.
I didn't see minutes.
Emails either, but
Okay, we've been like really super crazy busy. It's insane
Yeah.
right now.
all right, correspondence for the board's review, letter dated August 10, 2023 from New Hampshire DOT to planner Nicola Strong.
Her
Yeah.
predecessor.
So,
Okay.
so this also
She
got,
quit right after I joined.
Were you offended?
I was a little.
this also got sent to several other entities like selectmen, town administrator, fire, police, highway, conservation, and historical society. So we're just sort of. So I don't know, I don't know if the town administrator between the highway department is addressing this.
I would hope that the town administrator is kind of acting as the coordinator for the other departments to
Yep.
to pull
I would hope
together
so.
and respond.
But this is the one past Sandy Point, I can tell because there's a stone box culvert and that was under the railroad track. So the stone culvert was made there, was done by the railroad when they built it. And that's what failed
Oh,
up by Keewaydin Park.
Well, also, it's sad that we're no longer members of the Lakes Region Planning Commission, but the Lakes Region Planning Commission had a DOT subcommittee. I served on that for a while because we were in contact with the DOT regularly for the top 10 things for the Lakes region. And then for each town was considered. And so where we had things that doubled up, we stressed those ones. So that information is also available through Lakes Region, but we just don't have access to it right now.
It's not that expensive for us to be a member, is it?
What?
Several $1,000s, isn't it that all? Or it's not a lot of money.
It was
7 or
5 or
9.
6.
7 or 9,000 now.
7 or 9
less than this furniture
I think it was to two.
Yeah.
by a lot.
by a lot.
The select.
You haven't been
Yeah,
upstairs.
there
yet.
was, that one of the selectmen was dead set against it, but he'd never been there, never been to a meeting, never knew anything about it.
Yes, why don't you get that information out? There's still time to put that in your budget. Let them cut it out if they want to.
Or
Lakes Region Planning Commission. It would be a good tool for you.
Put that in the CIP,
so.
No, I don't think that would go in,
put it under the
No, it's
planning
not enough.
budget.
put it under her planning budget.
So it wouldn't come under my budget either. It would be the selectmen.
Why?
That's where it's always been.
Oh, really?
Yeah, $9,000 out of my budget's huge.
Well, I would say add
No,
9,000 to your
add
budget
is
too.
The problem, right, $9,000 out of my budget, like that.
No, I just would say
on to
add
it.
the $9,000 to your bottom line.
No, wait a minute. If we add or request that $9,000 or $10,000 be added to the planning budget, planners department budget for the use of rejoining the Lakes Region Conservation Commission.
No, planning commission.
Planning Commission, then does that give us control?
So the highway department,
Of
I
what?
think for the most part, is one of the ones that benefits a lot from the Lakes Region Planning Commission. So I would reach out to Scott and talk to him about
Good.
that.
You have
which
to
is-
take 4,500 and you take
Which
4,500.
is why it would go under the
I
selectmen,
thought last
so
time-
that
Okay.
the town.
Like
Three-
can-
3,000, yeah.
I haven't got, currently, I don't know what
Where the 9,000 number come, Jessica?
From the Lakes Region Planning Commission.
All right.
Imagine that.
Last time we talked about this, it was like 2,500 or 3,000.
No, I think because I actually spoke to them a couple, 3 years ago, and it was like 3 years ago, I want to say it was like 7,500 or 7,800 or something like that. So
I think it's money well spent personally.
I agree. How do we get this on the selectmen's
Radar.
radar? Thank you.
What I could do is I could talk, I'll talk with the Public Works Director and
Tell you what.
maybe that we can,
I will make a motion, so you're not running willy-nilly. I will move to have Jessica talk with the selectman and the
Public Works Director.
Public Works Director, because I had to investigate rejoining the Lakes Region Planning Commission.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Scott, seconded by Tom Hoops. I would like to amend that if it's acceptable to not just investigate, but
Oh,
pursue
Rejoining.
renewing membership.
I'll agree to
I will
that.
agree to that.
Okay, so motion second as amended. Any conversation on that? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's it. You get all that?
Plus it's on the thing.
All right.
I think that would be a big help for you.
$9,000 good for.
A year.
here,
So you gotta pay that every year?
Yeah.
Yeah, but to give you an idea, that when we were members, they had gone and surveyed like all of the drainage structures in the town of Alton, you know,
Also, you get the use of every other town who's a member. Holderness, for instance, had done a lot of really good work through the Squam Lakes Group on drainage, on things, which was a benefit to a whole lot of different towns, steep slopes ordinances and things like that. So that there was a, a cooperation between the towns at that level, which was, really worthwhile. So that if there was going to be the TAC committee, which was the transportation, Scott could go up that day that they're having that meeting and be the representative for the town. And he's informed and working with the other members who are public works directors around the lake. Far better for him to get to know them all. And they're talking together about different things, it's positive.
kind of it's a collective mindset in.
Yeah, a
in,
lot of,
you know,
a
just-
lot of mapping work that they can do. They're a worthwhile group. But you have to
You
be,
get stuff.
have to be a
done.
planner.
Yeah, you get stuff done for less than it would cost you, individually. Because you're doing that group power negotiating and buying. So it's pretty,
And they're also working with it's not just the Lakes Region Plan, it's the Regional Planning Association. All have a rep who is in Concord all the time. So that the rep is reporting back to each region,
On
which then
legislation.
reports back to the towns as to what legislation is coming up or what legislation the regional planning board doesn't want to see, and to argue against something that's being proposed. So it's a bigger hat than we have.
yeah, it's good stuff. All right, next on the agenda is the changes to planning and zoning laws in 2023. Interesting stuff here. Some of it I didn't fully understand, I will admit.
Yep, so this first one, HB 42, has to do with homeowners associations, and it requires homeowners associations, to approach whatever land use board that may have, required to have that in place. They need to go back to that board, and they need to have a hearing to take place in order to disband the homeowners association.
And a good advertisement for homeowners and associations is Baxter Place, which we were talking about tonight. They have had people walk door to door to door to try to get a few bucks to put on the road and slam the door. It's awful.
Yeah,
So this next one.
it's got to be in the beginning mandatory.
In 1960, they didn't think of that.
Yeah. All right, HB 252.
This one I don't think really applies to us because we don't really have any of this regulation in place now.
So this has to do with like noisy cows and pigs and
Yeah,
stuff at
yeah.
night.
So yeah, it's just kind of, making towns clean up some
Doing
language.
the first noise until you've seen a calf weaned from her mother. Oh, my gosh.
Well, you can build a subdivision near a farm.
Yeah, and the farm was there first.
Farm's there first, but you can't build a farm next to a subdivision because they're going to complain.
Especially if they have roosters.
Or
All right, HB
News
296. This is one of the ones I think that kind of tripped me up. The state fire code and associated rules shall not supersede the authority of the local land use boards under planning and zoning provisions.
for roads and things like that is what I was wondering.
Delegate to, right, to regulate permit and driveway access, permit driveway access.
So they have certain codes for what is proper for a fire department.
Yeah, and I think one of the radiuses they want is like a 40-mile-an-hour radius on a 20-mile-an-hour road.
Also 20 feet for fire access road. I think we're using 15.
Well, we have
I'm just saying, that's,
And we,
I think that's what they're looking at. It's the
we
fire
use it pretty much a
access road.
22 foot traveled way for 2 lanes, but we can get out of 15 on a one-way loop system.
That has to be a turnaround.
Yeah.
We had, the roads were 20 feet. And there were a bunch of old roads that wanted to come in and get approved, and Scott Dunn had the selectmen change it to 22, so they couldn't.
Right.
What a screw job.
All right, so then SB 78.
SB 78 requires an overhaul of our subdivision and site plan regulations.
Just did that.
And the deadline that this goes into effect is October 3rd.
Of 23?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
good.
what
2
this-
weeks away.
So what this is now gonna, it's now gonna prohibit the planning board to require a bond to be placed down on a project during construction, during that site construction. You can only require a letter of credit, cash, or a passbook.
And you have to
I'm-
offer 2.
Right, and so the time that bonds are required are, after construction's done. And sort of, it's that sort of
What if they walk
18
out?
months. Exactly. So the way around that is they still have to require a letter of credit or cash.
Right.
So there is still some.
You got to drop the word passbook. I haven't seen a passbook in 100 years,
Yeah.
like 40 years anyway, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So. Yeah, we need to address that soon. I've been trying to address that on a regular day. It's just been,
Well, you had an easy August. Now the cows are out of the barn. That's always the way it is. After Labor Day, people say, oh, I got to do something or else I'm not going to have time.
yeah, so I'm gonna do my best to present some changes to the regulations to you guys as soon as I can.
All right, so correspondence for the board's information, there was none. The other business come before the board was the short-term rental permitting permit application and process. So this is just for review. This is all
Yep, it's just for your
signed,
information.
sealed, delivered.
And this is for under 6 month
Yes.
occupancy. That's the word I
So,
was looking for.
I'm glad you brought that up because it's not specified in the short-term rental definition that it's for that 6 months or less. That's actually lacking, I feel. That should be amended.
Yep.
We have that language written into when we did the seasonal cabin, when we addressed that whatever, last year or the year before, we added language that specifies 6 months or less. Where are we? Seasonal cabin. In no case shall the structure be used for more than 6 consecutive months. That's seasonal cabin. It's not anywhere in short-term rental. It just refers to transient. use.
Because,
I thought we defined that though.
yeah, what's the definition of short-term rental?
So, all right, I can read it to you. A single-family dwelling or accessory dwelling unit offered for transient use for compensation and where the dwelling unit would otherwise be considered a residential living unit not associated with regulated commercial activities such as hotel, motel, lodging house, or bed and breakfast. See additional criteria outlined in section 365 short-term rental.
So what's transient uses definition?
So then you go to transient use. And transient describes a room, number of rooms, or dwelling unit that is offered for rent in increments of less than 30 days. But it doesn't specify that, like the seasonal cabin, that you can't be there for more than 6 months. I find
Because,
that that's a glitch.
I was under the thing that if it was over 6 months, it wasn't considered a short-term rental.
Right.
Exactly, right, because now you can claim residency.
Right, right.
So.
And we did
so-
that so we specifically could not claim residency.
So as the planning board, you could recommend that we add something to our proposed zoning amendments to add that language.
Jot that down, please. I think that we at least need to discuss it so everybody's up to speed. If we can get
It's been
people to
bought-
show up.
It's been bothering me ever since I really looked at it and was like, that doesn't limit
Yeah.
people.
What are your
That's the whole
thoughts?
Point.
I mean, the
Short-term
idea
rental.
of short term. In Florida, down where we rent on Sanibel, when they had buildings. You couldn't rent for less than a month. That was the least amount, except for condos, which could go for by the week. So that was their way of.
Now,
dealing-
was that a house rule, shall we say, or?
Town.
Municipal.
City rule.
Okay,
And you had to be registered and taxes and everything else are involved.
Wait a minute, though. So if we're saying the short term is for transient use. And transient use is defined as less than 30 days.
Right. In
Why are we worried
increment.
about the 6 months?
So you could go to Joe Schmo's short-term rental for 30 days, then you could go to someone else's short-term rental.
Well, could you go to Joe
That's-
Schmo
that-
and just
that
renew
should
it
be
every month?
fine.
Go,
Yeah.
go
That should be fine,
repeated.
but I think, I was thinking the 6 months would be in the same structure.
I mean, it could be, I suppose.
Or could you just renew every 30?
You could do 30 days and then 30 days and
Yeah.
then 30 days. It doesn't, so it doesn't limit
You know, if
the
you're
number.
going
of
through all that
days.
bloody
Because
work.
We got to look at Sandy Point as an example. They rent those for the season, those cottages down on the water.
Now.
Yeah.
They rent everything for the season now.
Right,
The motel units up top is now seasonal.
right. That's because nobody wants to deal with the transient stuff, but those are, I don't know their rental period. It's probably April to October, I would guess, which is 6 months. And that's a guess.
But I mean, to me, in most cases, I'm thinking of short term. The awkward ones for neighbors and everything else are the weekends or the week.
Yeah.
Party period.
Yep.
That's really what that was geared toward. I think if somebody's gonna go live there for 29 days,
They're going to behave differently.
they're probably gonna behave differently.
And they're through their pocketbook.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
Whereas there was a couple that have a separate unit they rent out mainly to line workers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, there's-
Many were hearing.
there are people that do it for nurses too.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
traveling nurse thing.
Yeah.
is big,
Which
big.
to me made
Yeah.
so much sense, and they weren't trying to make a killing. They were just, it was a short-term rental.
Yeah,
But I
so
mean,
I'm not convinced that
we need
we
to
need to
do.
worry about this
Yeah.
6 month.
Let's discuss it as a group. At one of the
Exactly.
next
think about it
meeting.
too.
Yeah. All right.
But it's the ones that are causing trouble with the parking. And I think that most of that stuff has been addressed, and then you have an agent who you can get in touch with, or they can lose their rights.
Right.
But all in all, on this short-term rental, the application, the permit, the checklist, I mean, this is great stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is really good stuff. And this goes into effect January 1 of this year. Is that
No.
right?
So it's already gone into effect as of September
meeting.
12th, the
Yeah.
Board of Selectmen
Okay.
meeting.
Okay.
So people have until technically December 31st to have obtained or at least applied for a permit for existing short-term rentals.
Is the
That
plan,
deadline.
is the code official going to be sending out letters to known users of this to,
So it's difficult to say who was, it's,
that's why I use the word known,
Well, Except for the problem is sending out the notices, that's an expense, right? I mean.
right? Or put a little
So-
flyer with the tax bill.
yeah, so we can't do that either. So I
Okay.
did discuss it with the Board of Selectmen and to send out some sort of postcard to each property owner.
Because I think some of these,
like we did with the master plan,
To
Right.
every property owner in the town.
to be informed that this permitting process is in place, because it's impossible to know.
yeah,
Who's-
who is and who isn't.
Yeah.
And put it on
That's
the,
the-
on the site, you know,
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be, right, everywhere. There's gonna be notices everywhere.
give them a
posted on the
bonus for turning
website.
in their neighbor.
Oh, gosh. Need taller fences.
I think that's probably his best approach.
Yep.
Oh, God.
Uh,
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to do this next one.
all right, public input for non-specific planning, non-case specific planning issues, seeing none, closing the public section. I'll entertain another motion.
Mr. Chairman, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Scott, seconded by Tom. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Didn't think so. Thank you.
Very much, everybody. Anything to carry down?